And welcome to That Scroll Speaks. Today is Tuesday, August 27th, and this is episode 252. I'm your hostess, Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry, and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. How are you? I apologize if I get a little bit like feeling the, I don't know if I'm like premenopausal or just hot. I don't know which one it is. Like, I love when you look up the symptoms for menopause. They're like basically just the symptoms for, the symptoms for premenopause or perimenopause or whatever are just like the symptoms for like what it is to have a uterus and ovaries. I'm like, well, this is really not helpful, WebMD. Thanks. Okay, so anyway, so I'm a little bit like at the moment. But we need to talk, yo, because it's our day to talk. So let's talk about some stuff. This episode will have some knitting. We'll have no spinning. We'll have lots of shame. We'll have no spinning. It will have shameless self-promotion at the end. And, of course, shenanigans. I feel like there was something administrative we were supposed to do. Yes. We'll do that when we do that, because it makes sense to do that when we do that. All right, let's do it. Shenanigans! Oh my goodness, y'all. We have had shenanigans of the home appliance variety. So many shenanigans. Let's just discuss. Okay, so our dryer has been making the dreaded squealing noise. I don't really feel comfortable admitting how long it's been. But you know what we could do to find out? Just because, like, this is, like, taxi cab confessions time. Right? We could look up when I purchased the belt to replace on our dryer. That was my initial thing was like, okay, maybe it's the belt. Oh my gosh, the shame. Oh, the shame. Okay, bought the belt to replace on my dryer December 29th. That has been 8 months ago. That's embarrassing. That is really embarrassing. So it's been squealing in excess of 8 months because I didn't buy it as soon as it started squealing. Well, that's not as bad. Okay, that's not as bad. Okay, so then we did not replace it. Because then I got reading more and more about it, and I thought, you know what? Because initially I thought, I'll just get the belt. It's like a few dollars, and, But so then I was looking at how to replace the belt, and I'm like, Jiminy Christmas. Okay, I am not, like... I feel like I have a logic brain, which does make mechanical things make sense to me when they are, like, parsed out. And don't get me wrong, my favorite part of shop... Well, I really liked shop, but I really also loved the mechanical drawing section. It was so exciting. So I do love how things fit together and work. So, I mean, I feel like I could be mechanical if I had been given opportunities to be mechanical. Does that make sense? Like if I had a tinkerer in the family who was like, come help me fix this, what's that thing called? Lawnmower. Like, I feel like I could have had an aptitude. It's just never been explored. Could have. So anyway, I was like, okay, well, let's just get the belt for the dryer. It's only a few dollars. We'll replace that, see what happens. So then I watched the video about how to replace the belt. And I was like, Jiminy Christmas, this is kind of a pain in the neck. I mean, not horrible. We have like our dryer's like 19 years old. So first off, my husband is like, let's just buy a new dryer. Which is crazy because my husband has like one pair. Okay, he has... Now that we've been together, he has 2 pairs of shoes. Right? And like he would be happy to wear the same pants for like 900 years. Like all of he is not like a throw in the money kind of fellow, but he was like, let's just get a new dryer. And I was like, well, I kind of don't want to get a new dryer because I'm pretty sure the dryer we have is basically like a toaster with like a hamster wheel in it. And I was like, I feel much more comfortable trying to fix that than I do one that has like multiple circuit boards and like onboard computers and whatnots. Like, I don't need my Bluetooth and my dryer to know each other. Like, I'm okay with them living in different decades of the universe. And so I was like, I'm just really afraid if we get a new dryer, like, it's gonna break. And also because of Instagram, like, it's like, I love that social media, like, there's like so many levels, right? Like, social media brings me, like lets me see fat women doing lots of stuff that I, 30 years ago would have not thought about seeing fat women doing, which is super exciting. And there's drawbacks to social media, but like one of the things about, like, so like the same thing that happens with like vacations where like you see people, it seems like, oh my gosh, everybody in the world is taking a vacation all the time. And you're like, well, no, you follow 1,700 people. 10 of them had taken vacations, so they just happened to be one right after each other. So you think that everybody in the universe is taking a vacation at the same time and you are not. But that also works in like a weird other way for like mechanical issues. So I cannot tell you how many pictures of people's like washing machines and dryers that are like beautiful and sleek and schmancy looking. We're like, I've had this dryer for 5 years and I already have to replace it. And I'm just like, if a new dryer is like $500, $100 a year is too much rent to pay for that dryer. And that's like a cheap dryer. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I don't want to get a new dryer and washing machine. I'm just afraid. Also, I'm afraid. I'll tell you about that later because that comes into the story. Okay, well, also I'm afraid to get a new washing machine because, like, if you don't know this, like, if your house is like 100 years old, anytime you fix anything, 17 other things break. Like, it's kind of just how that works. And so, like, when you break the thing that makes when you fix the thing that makes 17 other things break, you can kind of get away with fixing like maybe 15 of them, like with just like duct tape and prayer. But if somebody professional comes to fix the thing and then 17 things break, they need to professionally fix all 17 things. And so suddenly you have a $500,000 washing machine and dryer in a tiny house that is not worth $500,000. So like that's my other fear, is that the person could come in and be like, oh, well, I mean, we were here to replace your washer and dryer, but now that we see your pipes that come into this washing machine are clearly out of code and probably filled with asbestos, lead, and I can't think of anything else toxic. All of those things. So now we have to replumb your entire home. Like, that's the fear that lives in my heart over everything. So I'm just like, all of these things are going together to make me not want to buy a new washer and dryer. Also, why does he want a new washer and dryer? He doesn't even do laundry? Granted, he throws his own clothes in the washing machine and just waits for the load to fill up for somebody else. So it's not like, but whatever. It's not like, I don't understand what, okay. So anyway, I'm ranting, I'm sorry. This is not a marriage counseling session. But it would be cheaper than real marriage counseling. Anyway. So I'm like, we've got to try to fix it. So then I get the drum bearing kit, and I just found out that I only got that in July. So, I mean, I've only had that of this year, for clarification. So I've only had it for like 6 weeks, basically. I don't know why I was thinking we had put it off forever. Oh, that's right, because the problem started back before December. Anyway, finally, last weekend, I threw down the gun and I was like, fine, I'm replacing it myself. I'll take care of it. Which is code for, if you don't help me fix this dryer, we're getting a divorce. Because we have like a little like mud room that was thrown onto our house like after it was built by like some sort of like handyman fancier who just like was like, yes, I bought the Time Life woodworking book set. I can clearly put an addition onto a house. So sketchy. So not to code. That's the other thing. What if they come in and they're like, oh, this whole room is not to code. It has to come off. Anyway. It's sketchy, y'all. Just saying. And there is enough room for you to pull the washing machine, or the dryer in this case, all the way forward and then like shimmy in between them. And so that you do have about 2 dryers depth to work with. So there is not like a situation, because at first I thought I was literally going to have to just have my child go back into that cubby hole and do the behind the machine work, because like there are actual physical like restrictions to where my body will fit. But luckily that was not the case. And luckily my very skinny, very long-armed husband did help me fix the dryer because he knew what was good for him. And we felt so proud of ourselves because we fixed the dryer. We replaced the drum kit, the bearings kit. Quite frankly, I think all we really needed to do was put additional grease in the bearing, like, chamber, for lack of a better word. But by the time you had it all the way apart, it just took like an extra 4 seconds to actually replace the thing we already had apart, as I mentioned. So I was just like, let's just replace the whole thing and just go on with it. That was probably a bad decision. I probably should have just cut with the factory product, but whatever. We did it. We buttoned everything. Everything went back together. Actually more smoothly than it came apart, which is never the case. I don't know how that happened. So we're feeling so smug. By the way, I totally found a baby sock. My child is now 12. FYI. A baby sock. So many buttons. So many buttons. It was like a button bonanza in there. We found a golf pencil. We found only one stitch marker. That was the surprise of the day. Only one stitch marker. 1 penny and 17 ounces of dryer lint. Okay, I don't know that that's exactly how much dryer lint we are because, quite frankly, I forgot to empty out the canister. I mean, it wasn't like full looking at all. It was just like a little bit in there, but it is possible that there was some additional. That may not be a totally accurate number, but I did weigh how much that we emptied. That did also count all of the stuff that we vacuumed out from around everything and the like hose that went outside. By the way, oh my gosh, thank goodness we replaced that thing because any minute that was going to come bust. So anyways, I was feeling very smug and very proud of ourselves. I mean, like in a good way, not in a mean way. It's not like I was like, but like I was feeling good. Like I was like, oh, we did this. Go us. And then on Wednesday, my husband opens the washing machine, the refrigerator to check. No, he opens the refrigerator to make his lunch. And he's like, whoa, this refrigerator is way too warm. It is, in fact, 60 degrees inside the refrigerator, which, as you know, Fahrenheit is too warm. It would definitely be too warm Celsius. So I'm like, oh, well, I don't know anything about refrigerator repair. I'm pretty sure there's not like a big YouTube. Like, I feel like that's beyond my, again, toaster with a hamster wheel. Because that's really what a dryer is. It's kind of awesome. It's just like a big toaster coil back there heating the dryer. It's fascinating, but it's so simplistic. Anyway, hence why we were able to fix it ourselves. But so beyond me Googling, why is my refrigerator warm while my freezer is cold? And not getting good information other than like vacuum out your coils. Well, our refrigerator doesn't have coils that are visible like on the back of the machine. And we had just like vacuumed out underneath the machine to make sure everything was okay there. So like other than that, I'm not getting any info. So I'm like, fine, we'll call the repair people. So I researched the appliance repair people, find the person. They can't come till Saturday. I then proceed to get all of our coolers that we go camping with and, you know, fill them with ice, get everything into the, luckily it was just the refrigerator, not the freezer, so that was good. Get everything into coolers so that everything is like fine and explain to people the cooler procedure so that we're maintaining as much ice as possible and without too much opening of the coolers. Get everything taken care of. By Thursday evening, the refrigerator feels surprisingly cool again. And in fact, it is very close to being the correct temperature. It's like 45 degrees, let's say. It's very close. So I'm like, what's going on? All we did was like move the refrigerator away from the wall in case there was like an air circulation problem happening. And then we did put some stuff that was in the refrigerator into the freezer, some meat and stuff that we, you know. But it started working, so I was like, okay, well, I don't know. It's maybe the thermostat's going out. I don't know. Things about things. So the repairman is supposed to come on Saturday at 1:30. Fabulous. My plan is that we will all do the blitz clean Saturday morning at 11:30. That way we have our like morning to get everybody like into their weekend nicely. Just nice and chill. And then at 11:30, I have a giant list of things for us to clean so that we don't look like the disgusting human beings we are when this repair person comes. Because I didn't clean out my refrigerator like yesterday. And I could have cleaned out the refrigerator sooner, but I was like, no, this is not my responsibility. This is our responsibility. You know what I mean? So I was like trying to actively be like, no, this is a collective thing that we are all doing together, not just me. 11 a.m. on Saturday, I am just like, okay, we're going to get ready to do everything in a half an hour. I'm talking to my mom on the phone. I get a random phone call while I'm talking to her that I just ignore because it's not anybody in my directory and I'm like, whatever. So listening to this, probably two things. You probably know what's wrong with my refrigerator. And you probably know that I'm about to tell you that that's in fact the repairman calling. And that when somebody knocks on the door in 10 minutes and our dogs all lose their mind, that's actually the repairman. Hear it at 11 a.m. 11:10, whatever, times are loose, okay? I have no bra on. I have not cleaned anything. You walk into my house, the first room you walk into is the room that I use for my business. So I know where everything is, but it looks like a hot mess to anybody else. Okay, it is a hot mess, but you know what I mean? Like, especially somebody who doesn't know what's going on. There's dog toys everywhere. I am completely braless. Not even like a pretend bra that I went to the bus stop in. No bra. Free. Everything's crazy. So I scoop the dogs into their crate. Push my husband at the door. I hang up on my mother. I don't even think I expressed to her that I was going to. Luckily, she also kind of figured out what was going on and didn't think we were just like under home siege or anything. Run upstairs while my husband is like trying to buffer so that I can run upstairs. Put bra and clothing on. Steal my will to deal with this person who now sees the dishes in my sink and the refrigerator that's not cleaned out and there's like, it's just whatever. It's life, right? And like in my head, I'm like, he has seen worse. He has seen worse. So I know he has seen worse. And I do go downstairs. Hilariously, my daughter is losing her mind. I'm like, you don't even have to go downstairs. Just stay up here. You don't need to deal with it. I come downstairs and my husband and the appliance man are just chitty-chatting. And I'm like starting to like take stuff off the refrigerator. I don't know, like somehow. Like I'm like, cause there's like, I'm like trying to clean it off while he's like literally standing there. Like, he's like, no, you don't need to do anything. It's fine. I know what's going on. And I was like, oh. Okay. What's wrong with my freezer? Do you know? Refrigerator. My freezer's fine. Do you know what's wrong with my refrigerator? Do you know how the man was able to diagnose what was wrong with my refrigerator in under 4 minutes? Yeah, it's because the freezer's too full. The freezer's too full. Has the freezer been more full? Yes, it has. Has it been significantly more full? Double, quadruple, yes, it has. What's magical about this time? I don't know. Maybe the aging refrigerator is just not able to push as much air as it used to be able to. That freezer was not any more full than it has ever been in my life. There may have been a plastic bag right next to the vent in the freezer. Maybe what happened. Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. The man is so nice, so professional, so polite. I am like completely dumbfounded. I can tell my husband is so pleased with himself, like in a nice way. He's not being a jerk about it because, like, let's face it, how often is he really right about things? He deserves this one. He's always telling me there's too much stuff in the freezer. Always. By the way, though, did he suggest that maybe there was too much stuff in the freezer and that's why the refrigerator wasn't working? No, he did not suggest it when it mattered. He just suggests it when he gets upset that there's too much stuff in the freezer. So I can tell that he is so content in his little person over there. Not in a mean way, just like in a, I am finally vindicated. The man is so polite. He is very kind to tell us that in fact the reason he is 2 hours early is because I am the second person he has seen today that's what's wrong with their refrigerator. So I thanked him. I don't know if he was lying. It does make sense logically that would be why he was so early. But I did thank him for like telling me that because it really did make me feel significantly less hatred towards myself. Wait, there's even more one better. My husband, who is, by the way, got so much more gumption than I do about certain things. Thank goodness. I am just like, tell me how much I owe you so you will get out of my house and I can stop being embarrassed. But my husband is like, hey, while you're here, because I mean, quite frankly, we're playing for a service call. And, you know, it's typically longer than 3 minutes. He asks him why. We've never had warm water in our washing machine. Okay? I've just assumed that like 100 years of really hard water. We live in the city. Our lime scale is out of control. Our water is so hard that like I have to descale the teapot like every week almost. When I can stuff like in the hot water bath canner, it's always completely covered in mineral deposits when it comes out of the canner. Like we have very hard water. I had just assumed that like over time there was like, you know, the cave system of our pipes had just closed off. Like all the stalactites and the stalagmites met and it was bound up and no water was getting through. I assumed that again, if we called the people to replace the washing machine, they were going to tell us, again, you have to get all these pipes replaced, everything's ruined, it's all terrible. So I didn't even think about it. Do you know what's wrong with our water? Apparently we had too much cold water turned on. And it was competing with the hot water and the hot water was losing. I don't know why that is. I guess just because there's greater pressure in the hot water or the cold water line because it's coming direct from the source rather than from our water heater. I don't know. Why is that even a thing? Why would they make the faucets dependent on one another for the temperature? Like that doesn't even make sense to me in terms of like, that's not a solution I would have even dreamed of. But guess what? Now I got warm water in my washing machine. And so much shame. So much shame. But I felt like I needed to do a public service announcement to save you a call to your Turner Appliance person. I don't know who your appliance person is. My person was Turner Appliance, and they were very polite and wonderful. I can't say how great they are at fixing things. They didn't have to fix anything. But they're pretty good at diagnosing things. Anyway, I just thought I would let you know. I have never heard of that. I have never in my life heard that when the freezer's too full, the refrigerator won't work. I have lived in apartments where literally I like Jenga/Tetris the freezer to like a perfect cube of frozen items. Like there was no air coming through there. I've done that. This freezer has been way more full. But anyway, if your refrigerator is not working and your freezer is just maybe, try to jostle some stuff around. So I thought I would tell you because I had never heard it. Now you have heard it. I know some of you were like, yeah, dummy. Everybody knows that. Not everybody knows that. I talked to like 4 people who did not know that. I checked. I liked them on my stupidity by, test groups to see. So embarrassing. Let's talk about knitting. Finished objects. awesome. Hey, where's my hat? Oh, I finished my hat I was working on last time for the charity knitting, but now I don't see it in here. Oh well, that's okay. I instead have some mittens to show you. Gus is going crazy. And now I can't remember what, I used the tin can knits pattern. That's what I did. Gustav, don't yell at people, please. Okay, so I used the world's simplest mittens by Tin Can Knits, which is a free pattern, and well, I think it's free now that I've said that. And it is one of those that's available in like 4 gauges. So it's fingering, sport, DK. No, that's a lie. It is fingering, DK, worsted, chunky. And then it's available in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sizes. So baby through adults large. So it's just a basic stockinette mitten. But it's great in this situation if you're doing like a lot of different, you know, you're trying to use up some scrap yarn and what have you. It's good for that because you can use whatever gauge you need to. So that was a lot of me talking. I had some Miss Babs Yowza in her Meadow brown colorway. I still have quite a bit because of obviously those are huge skeins. And they are DK, but they're, you know, I think they're just straight up DK. But I do like my mitten patterns to be a little bit more dense if I can get away with it. I just think it keeps them warmer, especially since the Miss Babs is a superwash. So the Yowza is 100% superwash merino, 560 yards into 8 ounces. So I wanted to try to make it a little dense, but not so dense that it was hard to knit. So what I did is I held the Yowza along with a skein of Valley Yarns Southampton, which is their 72% kid mohair, 28% mulberry silk, 25 grams, 230 yards. So it's like the Rowan's kid silk. It's similar to, you know, all of these silk mohair blends. And now this one does not say it is machine washable, but I did look at, for example, Rowan Kid Silk Haze is machine washable. So I did wash a sample. I knit a little gauge swatch and washed it, and it seemed to hold up just fine in the machine. So these are one pair of mittens I did. And then I thought, well, what if I hold the Yowza doubled with the Southampton? So I made another pair like that, or a pair like that, not another pair like that. So these are the yarn held double with a skein of the mohair. And I do think it's interesting how different they look. So these are the same base yarn. It's just one time it's held double and one time held single. Now, obviously double looks less stripy, which makes sense. And overall just looks a little bit more blended, which is why I don't think it looks as light, because it's all blended together a bit more. But it was interesting to see how those knit up differently. I totally dug that little experiment. Ultimately, I decided that I'm going to just hold the DK single with the Southampton or whatever I'm holding it with, because it was kind of rougher it was not bad, but it was a little rougher on the hands to hold it double. Anytime chunkier yarns are always more challenging for me. They give me a little bit more fatigue in my hands. But I do like that it's warmer. So, but right now, so yeah, those turned out cute. So there's 2 pairs. Oh, and these are for some charity knitting I'm doing. If last time on the comment section you said you were interested in doing some knitting, we're going to do it. I'm just trying to figure out how we get the things to where they need to be. So I'm definitely going to offer some prizes. I will decide what those will be. They'll probably be bags, or maybe they'll be like bag of your choice, you know, if from an upcoming update. But I'll do some prizes for folks who are going to send their knitting out. And then but I'll let you know, I'm still in communication with the lady that was my touch point. So I'll either have you just send them to me, and then I'll send them all off into the world, or we're working on it, but we're going to do it either way. So, sorry, that was a lot of words. But if you're interested in doing some charity knitting, they have 400 or 450, I can't remember, asylum seekers that are going to be entering Portland, Maine. And so they need some warm weather stuff. So, and she said the majority of them would be children, and they would like the things to be superwash wool or easy, easy, like if it's acrylic, that's fine. But easy care, that's what I was looking for. So machine washable and what have you. But yeah, so if you're interested, please do work on some stuff, and then I will tell you exactly how we'll proceed from there. Just so you know. So there's 4 pairs of these, and I did start with a full ball of the Webs Southampton, so I didn't weigh this, but this is about how much is left. So I don't know that I could get another pair out of it, but I could definitely get another mitten out of it. And I do have some left from a shawl that I did, so that's working out well. Okay, and then this year at Super Summer Knit Together, the skein was dyed by Teeny Button Studio. So look how cute her little fox is. So this is her DK base, which is 100% superwash merino. And it's 250 yards for 115 grams. And this is the Judgey Rabbit colorway. So I'm holding this along with, this is another Southampton, right? Yeah, this is another Southampton from Valley Yarns. So I'm holding it with that. And so this is what this little guy looks like so far. Isn't that cute? And so again, I'm holding it with the kid silk just to hopefully get an extra layer of warmth in there. Superwash wool is not the warmest of wools typically. So hopefully it'll just help fill in a little bit of the gaps between the stitches and create a slightly warmer finished object. It's also very soft. I don't know that I would want it. It's soft, but it's mohair, so it does have, I don't know that I would want it on my neck or like, again, in a hat on my forehead, but that's just me personally. But on hands, I think it'll be perfect. So, one of those done, which is why I'm not holding the mohair in with hats, because I do think that's a little bit person specific, whether that would be itchy. So there's those, and then I also have a hat. Okay. So I hang out my other hat while I was up. So this is a hat I finished. This was Malabrigo held double. So it's fingering weight held double. I need to trim that end. And so this is for our kids. So I'm not going to put it on my giant adult head. But I do like the idea of this is the Purl SoHo hat. So that's a free pattern from them. And it is called the Classic Cuffed Hat. So I like the idea of the cuff A for warmth, you're getting a double layer, so that's always good. But also just for adjustability for size, especially for kiddos. It seems like that might be a good idea. So I finished one of those. Now, oh, that's right, I did make this an adult size. I still have a giant head. So if you wanted to, you could wear it slouchy, like if you're feeling fancy. Like maybe this is for a teen. And she's just like feeling fancy. She could also just wear it with it like that. Or he, whatever. But I like how the, it just looks very painterly, I think. A little, very Monet-y. How that worked out with it held double. And I really like the fabric of the single ply yarn held double. It's very nice. Not that I don't like it when it's multiply. But you know what I don't love as much? The 2-ply held double. Now, it's not bad, but I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second. It's just different. The 2-ply held double. So, for example, the next one I'm working on, same pattern. Ooh, man, I am extra pretty for you today. Same. Pretty is not the rent you pay to exist in the world. Remember. So the next one is with like one of these little, is it gems? How did I say that? I'm like literally looking at the label like I couldn't have just gotten it when I was up. But it's a traditional like 2-ply I'd never heard it called this before, but my friend Malia called it a string of pearls construction. So it's the bumpy, like the 2-ply. And I don't love how it looks when it's held double as much. It just gets more chunky. Is that... I was just saying chunky, but not saying it correctly. But I think it's totally just like a skewed my own bias perspective. I don't think anybody would look at it and be like, this hat's disgusting. It makes me want to vomit. But for example, like it also like magnifies the asymmetry of my stitches. Like usually my right side of my stitch is slightly more slanted than the left side of my stitch. And I feel like it magnifies that. Maybe it's just the direction of the ply or something. I don't know. I don't love it. I typically really like yarn held double in projects. But now that I think about it, I've done mostly a multi-ply, like a 3, 4 or greater ply held double. And I don't love the 2-ply held double quite as much. Just personal preference. But so this is another kiddo hat. So yay. Yay that. So again, if you're interested, I will let you know as we go on, but it will happen. We're just trying to figure out where you're sending things. So I would say they probably should be like ready to be sent to arrive like October 1st. So, you know, just they need to be sent like the last week of September. So you don't have a big window, but just dash off a hat. It'll be great. And then again, I'll let you know whether they come to me or to her or what have you. We'll proceed. Proceed together. But there you go. All right, I'm going to put that in there so I don't lose it. Actually, I'm just going to put it over there because it's where they're going. Okay. So that's that. And then what else? Okay, so then I have my Nordiska, which I have been working on, which again is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. It was on my tongue, but I do have trouble switching names around a bit. So this sweater, I will show you this. This is the little diagram. It's supposed to be a ton of positive ease. It's supposed to have a super drop arm side. I'm not doing any of that because I did not have enough yarn. I am kind of regretting my decision. Oh well, things are the way they are, and that's exactly how they will be. Okay, so yeah, the designed to fit with 10 to 12 inches of positive ease. Mine probably has -2. So this is, you know, FYIs. I'm knitting it with Bumblebee Acres Farm Coquette sock. So that's their 75% superwash Corriedale, 25% nylon. My main color is Hagrid, Keeper of the Keys. So that one is this one. Woo! Hello! It's like a fun little speckle. And then I have Whiskey. No, that's the other one. This is I'll Await Your Raven, which is Game of Thrones inspired. And this is Whiskey, which is Outlander inspired. Okay. So here is mine so far. I have a body that is completed. I have a sleeve that is completed literally like 20 minutes ago. And then I'm about to start my second sleeve. Sorry, my body's a bit rolled up because I tried it on and you know how that happens. Sometimes it stretches out a bit and then rolls. So here's my body. Here's my sleeve. I really love the color work on the sleeve quite a lot. And then here is the band on the body. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about it right now. Again, not in any way a reflection on the designer because I went totally off book, okay? But I'm just not sure. We'll see how it does when I block it. When I block the pants out of it. When I do a crazy vertical, like a crazy stretch block. We'll see how it goes. Actually, I think I'm going to like it. The only thing I'm not in love with is where the color work for the sleeve hits is like right on this like natural fat roll in my arm. Like right here. I can't show you exactly. Like right here. And the line is like interesting, the way it plays with that line on my body. And I don't know that I love how that line works with the body line. But that could be a blocking issue that I'll take care of. Who knows? Again, the pattern is written with 10 to 12 inches of positive ease. I have like negative 2. Which is just usually how I roll. But this is perhaps a case where I rolled too hard the way I roll and should have relaxed my roll or done something different with my roll. All of my rolls. But I was too cheap to buy that 5th skein of yarn. Isn't that terrible? I don't have many indie dyed sweaters because, hi, I'm a fat lady. It's cost prohibitive. But for some reason, when I saw this colorway, when I was at the, I think I've been saying that when I was at Hoosier Hills. It's not Hoosier Hills. It's the Fiber event. When I was at the Fiber event this spring and saw this colorway, for some reason I was just like, yes, I think that will... I'd been wanting to knit the Nordiska. I really liked the speckle quality of the main color. Or like, I just really liked this. Again, I liked the hand-dyed look. A lot of times I enjoy the hand-dyed look in certain things, but I don't need it. And that one, for some reason, I was really drawn to the speckly hand-dye nature of the main color. And so I felt like I did need a hand-dye. Maybe what I should have done is bought 3 skeins of hand-dye for the main color and then gotten 2 commercial skeins for contrasting color. That's hindsight. So that I would have more room to play with positive ease and length and whatnot. But I still think I'm going to like it. Like, I think it's just going to be a matter of separating the reality of the finished object versus like what I wanted the finished object to be. Do you know what I mean? It's just like sometimes those just need to be parsed a bit. And so we'll see. It needs to be blocked. It needs to have another sleeve finished. It needs to have the neckline done. But we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. It fits really darling through the body. And I like that aspect. So, I mean, it does make sense that I would not have knit it with a bunch of positives because I often do feel a little bit like swimmy. But maybe I should have compromised and given myself like 4 inches of positive ease so it'd have more of a sweatshirt fit. Not like a super oversized sweatshirt fit, but just like a slightly easier fit. But we'll see. Sorry. This whole crop sweater thing is still new. We're still playing with it. And by we, I mean me. I am happy I did some short rows in the body. I'm happy with how that super bold bottom hem is looking. It doesn't look like it's getting pulled up by my bust line or anything, so I'm happy with that. And even though it hits me on like the broadest part of my like upper gut, because I have the bee belly. So even though it hits me on like the fullest part of my upper gut, I still actually am totally okay with it. Maybe because it's a slightly firmer fabric, that's helping me feel more, I don't know what it is, but I was concerned about that, but apparently I'm totally okay with it. So yeah, we'll just see what happens. It's also like a speckled hand-dyed sweater. I don't have a lot of those. So that's part of it probably too, is when I try it on, trying to like, it's a bit busier in the solid parts of the sweater, which is something that I'm trying to get adjusted to as well. So I'm going to finish the sleeve. I'm going to block it. See how I feel. We'll go from there. That was probably a lot of me processing that you didn't really need to hear, but you know, sorry, not sorry. And then the last thing I have to show you is I cast on a new thing. This is the Peaceful People Cowl by Jennifer Berg. And she has recently, I'm sorry, it's all crumply. she's recently released several patterns. There's a hat that shares a similar motif. And then she has another cowl and hat that are also inspired by the same design motifs. So it calls for, I just want to make sense. Okay, yes. It does call for 2 skeins of worsted weight yarn. Thank you. And it comes in 1 size. Do I need to tell you anything else? She says that she used contrasting colors that reminded her of the Hopi jewelry. And she catches the longer floats every 4 stitches. She has a tutorial for the methods that she uses, and she has a link to there. Oh, yes. So, yeah, I really just liked the really bold graphic of it. It's interesting, like I'm like enjoying these lower contrast color work things like the Nordiska, but I think that is making me also drawn to the very high contrast graphics as well. So I had some Cloudborn. So that is the blueprint, I guess now, yarn base that is, it's their sport weight, which actually I think is technically fingering weight. A lot of people have commented that as well. But it's Cloudborn Sport held double. And so I'm using these 2 colorways. I'm a bit conflicted about them now. I was really excited about their yarn originally because it is woolen spun. So it has a nice little bit of tooth to it. It's really, I like their color palette fairly well. And it was a very good price. But then, you know, I just don't know anymore about anything. There's some sort of potential that they've super discounted their yarn as part of like a venture capital thing, and like we're actually intentionally trying to undersell your like LYS, which is skeevy. Whatever. I don't know that that's true. But I had purchased some when I first saw it because, again, I was excited to get woolen spun yarn, and it was a very affordable price. But so I've had this in stash, and I literally copied her color choices. Yes, I did, because I was like, I want that exact same thing. I'm not going off book on this one. So here is mine so far. It's like my beginning of round, so it might not look as neat. Oh, you can actually see really well there, I think. Okay, so when you're knitting stranded or fair isle, I knit with a strand in each hand. So there is a color dominance. One side, and it depends on how you carry your yarn and how you knit, but one of your yarns will be a slightly more dominant yarn. It will come to the forward a bit. And typically, you know, everybody you'll get 6 different answers about you should always use the light color as the dominant. You should generally, as long as you're consistent, you know. Or if you like knit a section, you're like, I don't really see that other color. Well, then that might be an indicator that it was a better idea for you to flip-flop. But I was not consistent. For some reason, I forgot which hand I was carrying things in, and you can see it. You can see kind of like right through there how it looks a little bit different than it does on either above it or below it. Isn't that interesting? Now, in real life, it's not as obvious. I think the camera, the way that it deals with contrast and things, but it is pretty obvious here as well. Yeah. See how, whoa, left and right are different. See how much fatter these like khaki color stitches look than they look up here? And it's because that's where I switched my dominance. Like, I don't know what happened. I just forgot. Like, I really need to just write on the pattern, left hand light. Or just remember that. Right light. See, that's what I'll do. I should do right light. Just... Anyway. It's not in any way something I'm going to rip back for because it doesn't hurt my feelings that much. But yeah. And I really like this pattern repeat. There is not, let's see, it's, Oh, I didn't write. Oh, here we go. It's a 32 stitch repeat. So lots of times I don't like it when a repeat gets that big because it's not as easily memorizable, but it's graphically quite intuitive. You know, like, okay, I'm making this part go this way and this part go this way and this part's growing. So it's visually fairly intuitive. And so that makes it go fairly quick as well. And it's just enjoyable all around. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that finished object. And again, just holding those, this is Cloudborn Sport, holding it double. I'm knitting on size 5s on a 16-inch needle. So yeah. So again, if you like the graphic but are not a cowl person, there's a hat that is very similar. And then she has another pair that show that they share a similar motif, a cowl and a hat. So yeah. And they both have that similar kind of like bolder, more graphic quality, which I really am enjoying. Okay, so yeah. So that's all my knitting for the week. Yay! Okay, so then, shameless self-promotion. If you're not interested, no problem. I won't say anything cool. I can't guarantee that. I might come up with something brilliant. But I'm not planning on saying anything cool. So I'll talk to you later. If you want to stick around for shameless self-promotion, let's do it. So we have an update this Friday, which is August 30th. We have an update August 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, bags will not go out probably until Wednesday because it's Labor Day weekend in the United States, so definitely Monday's closed. We are painting my daughter's room, so depending on how much we get accomplished, they could potentially go out Tuesday, but it'll probably go out Wednesday. It's a lot of me talking, I know. This whole thing is, quite frankly. But anyway, so the update is Friday. They are sewn. They are not a sewn to order update, so they will go out relatively quickly. So yeah, so this is the first one. So this is going to be primarily Halloween themed, and then I will have an update in a few weeks with some more like autumn florals. So they will still be autumnal, like kind of inspired, but they'll probably be a little bit bigger season for them versus just the straight up Halloween motifs. Although I quite frankly support using Halloween motifs all year long. Because you're always spooky. Always. But you know, whatever. So first one is these sweet little pumpkins. They're so cute. And this is available in a sock plus bag with some extra strings. Don't worry, those are, by the way, I'm just yanking threads. People are like, oh, I can tell it's the lining thread that just snuck out when I was sewing. So this is an Interface Quilters cotton, and it just has a unbleached muslin lining, or unbleached cotton lining. All of these have the same lining. So yeah, cute. Yay! And then I forgot to bring my gourds over. Goodness gracious. So the gourd fabric I showed you last time, I'll have that in large, wedge, and sweater sizes. It's pretty. Just saying. There's not very many of those, so if you want them, you gotta get on it. Because if you don't, I'm gonna steal one. So these super cute retro Halloween motifs amongst the spider webs. How cute are they? And then it's time for Pennsylvania Dutch Halloween, y'all. So this one is linen cotton. The other two are a cotton canvas. And I mean, come on with this nonsense. Now this has a pretty big motif repeat, so you're not going to get the exact same placement. If there is an element on either of these that you must have, like I must have that Judgey bird who is judging my witchery, then just let me know. I must have the skeleton plant or the skull plant. I must have it. I get you. Just let me know. And this mustard color is so good. So good. Now this is the exception. These actually will all be the same. The sweater bags will almost all be exactly the same. Oh my gosh. Are you dying? Right? I really do love this. When I was sewing those mustard ones, I was like really like, how can I just upholster my entire life in this bag? And then here is an Erin. That was a sweater size, by the way, the one I just showed you with the tiles. So then this is the Erin size. This is another one that does vary quite a bit in terms of like what motifs you will get. So if you must have one, please let me know. And I will try my best to get that one to you. If it is like a deal breaker, if you're like, I gotta have an apple or I'm out, just put a note in and I'll happily refund you if I can't get you an apple. So yeah, how fun is this nonsense? It's so fun. So yeah, I'm basically in heart. Super in heart. If I had a barn, I'd paint it exactly. Don't you think? Like a whole, oh my gosh. I can't even think about it. It's giving me like palpitations. And I get it if you're like, that is hideous. I feel like this is like a love it, hate it kind of fabric. But I love it. So yeah, that's the update that'll happen at the end, the last Friday of August. And we'll go from there. I hope you have a great holiday that's coming up. And I'll talk to you next time.